The second wave. Nothing at this point of time could have been more devastating than the sudden increase in COVID-19 cases and people dying like flies literally. We saw people gasping for breath and losing their lives. We saw people crying for life-saving drugs and losing their lives. The fact that the second wave proved more devastating than the first one raises questions over the poor health infrastructure of our country and the ongoing politics over people's lives. This goes to show even though there has been considerable investment in the health sector in the past years, but we still lag behind in many of the aspects pertaining to proper handling of the epidemic-like situations. Chaos and confusion is all around, but even though things went south and stuff got worse and worse with time, many NGOs and hundreds of humanitarian organizations came up helping people in distress. Speaking of philanthropic work, we have with us three really hardworking and dedicated panelists who are also into philanthropic and humanitarian assistance in association with Rotaract Club. Going by alphabetical order, we have Prerna Roy, Ridhi Kamini Basu Malik, and Ruchi Bhattar. All three of them are the members of Rotaract Club and also my batchmates. Being law students, they don't really need much of an introduction, but let me give you a heads up, they really know their ways. So I would like to begin with Prerna. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Everyone, this is Prerna Roy. I'm currently studying law. I'm a second semester student. So for today's topic, the second wave and what went wrong, I would primarily start talking about the pandemic fatigue which came among the citizens of India. After the first peak in September, cases dipped for 30 straight weeks before it started rising again. India currently records world's highest single-day rise in coronavirus cases. Experts and authorities definitely think that this overwhelming surge is definitely due to pandemic fatigue. People let their guard down, they were enjoying themselves, they were going to vacations, planning reunions, not even maintaining the basic COVID protocols. They were lulled to believe that the worst is over. India has also failed to seize this opportunity to augment its healthcare infrastructure and vaccinate people aggressively.
Okay.
But we also need to accept that politicians do not decide what we do in our everyday routine. Just blaming them for this COVID surge wouldn't help.
Yeah, that's quite an introduction. I mean, you like summed up your whole, agenda for today, I guess. Now, moving on to Ridhi Kamini, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello everyone. My name is Ridhi Bushmori, and I am a first year law student. In today's podcast, the second wave, one went wrong. The main factors which I believe were the major reasons for the second wave was the evolution of coronavirus. Of course, there are many factors like this urban mobility and the protocol fatigue. But other than that, I believe that the major reason for the second wave was the evolution, how the coronavirus evolved or rather mutated from one country to another. Scientists have detected numerous mutations in the SARS-CoV-2, and some of these mutations have produced what they call is the variants of concern, or known as VOC. So this is one of the major reasons for the second wave. Another one, I believe, is the increased testing. Like increased testing is perhaps one of the major reasons for the second wave, why India is detecting more cases in the COVID-19 pandemic. The Sero surveys have shown that India had greater COVID-19 exposure than revealed to confirmed cases of coronavirus infection on the basis of laboratory tests. And by the time the second wave hit India, the availability of COVID-19 vaccine has improved tremendously compared to the first wave situation. And there's also another thing is, second, people were generally, reluctant to undergo COVID-19 testing during the first wave of the pandemic. And so a lot of cases with mild symptoms never came up for testing. Also, there were, false reports and fake reports that have led to this unavailability of beds and supplies. So, as I was saying, this increased testing were another reason for the second wave. Um, Thirdly, I feel that this there are certain aspects that were supposed to be kept in check, like I think perhaps all of us would agree that this sudden sudden rise in COVID-19 cases. It happened because of like this national nationwide election and this Kumbh Mela. That is perhaps one of the major reasons why the COVID-19 cases increased drastically, and it is getting things are getting out of control. The government should have like they should have just postponed or at least avoided it for a year. I mean, you cannot. It's not like completely possible, impossible to conduct elections without actually conducting rallies. So I think that was one of the negligence on the side of the government. And another reason I feel is that the people are becoming more casual, um, or rather, I would say
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are
casual in their
like
approach
under the
to
influence.
combating this. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you compare people in this year to the last year, I would say that they were more aware and more scared of this pandemic than they are now, right now. And like it, the rules and regulations that were imposed just to control the cases. People, not even, I'm not just blaming the people, but the authorities themselves who were responsible for the making of these rules and regulation. They themselves are neglecting it. I mean, I uh, I have seen most of the police officers standing by the streets without mask, actually, and the people passing them like on bikes or in car or in by a cycle, they're not wearing masks. They're just passing by there
There
and
is like a
yeah,
acute, lack of COVID appropriate behavior, like abiding by that, and I feel that, right?
exactly.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah,
huge problem with
yeah,
Indians.
exactly.
We have a really short term memory. Like we forget things too early. Like that applies to elections too, right? We forget things too early, right? Like what that politician did like a year ago, we forget that, and again vote them in, right? So it's like in our instinct, right?
It's really strange to see. Yeah, exactly. It's really strange how people are actually taking it lightly now. I mean, this is the crucial time. If honestly speaking, if we do not decrease the cases, if we do not control it enough, the third wave that is in the air, like in November, that will be like worse than the second wave. And if that is so, then I don't think that in 5 years we are going to even curb this pandemic. So, and people are so people are not even caring about it. They're being so casual, and I think that the government, the authorities, everyone should be regularly kept in check, and the people need to be more aware of this.
Okay, thank you so much for this introduction of yours. Like, you also summed up this whole, the whole outline of this debate. Okay, now I would like to jump on to Ruchi. And me and Ruchi have had, Ruchi and I have had, kind of, scrambling, I guess. Scrambling would be the correct word over our ideologies, our beliefs. So I guess it
Yeah.
would be interesting to talk to her, and I am glad she's part of this, right? So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. Hello, listeners. This is Ruchi Bhattar. I'm a first year law student, and I'm here today for the second wave. What went wrong? And basically, to I mean, all both the speakers before me quite pretty well summed up, and I don't really think there's any other thing which I can say. But definitely, human behavior is the major factor. Some other local governments as well as individual people differ in their response to the pandemic. Some follow the COVID-19 protocols while others are not as prescriptive in requiring these measures, maybe because they are not aware of it, they are not educated enough, or maybe simply they just take it as a joke. However, I mean, in areas where fewer people are wearing masks and more of these gatherings are happening, like community gatherings, religious gatherings, cases are on the rise. Like we can actually see that. And also places where people live or work closely together have also tended to be like, more towards the outbreak, and have been super spreaders, as we say. And definitely, I guess if we are counting for the second wave, we definitely need to count the melas and the rallies, which are totally unnecessary at this point of time. So I guess, yeah, that's it. I mean, that is pretty much what I wanted to say. Thank
Oh,
you.
okay. I would quickly like to jump on to, I heard that you tested positive last year, right? I would like you to, explain, or, you know, I would like to like you to share your own experience, like what happened last year and how you coped up with this, like you were symptomatic or asymptomatic and stuff like that, right? Like people want to know, right? Many people like take it as, like they find it very fashionable to test positive and posting it on online. Whoever met me like in the last 2 weeks, please isolate yourself. That's bullshit, right? It's a serious disease and you should be taking it seriously. I would like you to share your experience, like.
Yeah. So last year, like in July, I tested positive, and I was the asymptomatic one. And since then, I have seen so many people, like, celebrities and what do I call it? Actors and influencers, all these people posting about, their infection, and like, or maybe the hashtag quarantine has been in trend, which I think is totally, I mean, I don't get the vibe of it. I don't really get the need for it. I mean, it's okay, you tell people that you have tested positive, but in those 14, 15 days, you are literally making, clout for that. I mean, I don't understand, but yeah, that's their thing totally. I tested positive in July. I was asymptomatic, and here with my family, like, I think it was pretty much the situation we never imagined. It like it got worse than we imagined, because I honestly live with quite a few people, and it wasn't really easy to quarantine everybody in their own, like,
Yeah,
different
like
way.
our
So
parents, like they work and they cannot just stop going to their
yeah,
offices. Like
they
they do get, like my parents are central government employees, so they both get medical leave. But what about those having a temporary job and getting fired because
yeah.
they could not attend that particular job, right, for days?
Yeah. So my parents, like my father, he is a businessman, and like, it isn't really easy for a businessman to stop his work for like what, 20 days, 15 days straight. So he kept, like, that constant stress on his mind. I actually could see that it is affecting everything, and it isn't really a very, I would say, good reason to tell people that I won't be able to come for this, because people are like, yeah, 14 days are over, you can just come up. But I think, like, people who have been through it know that 14 days are just not enough. Like the fatigue, the tiredness, the urge to not get up,
Yeah.
the urge to stay in bed
And we Indians,
keeps
we
on.
Indians have this tendency to avoid, work as much as we can, right?
For any reason, to play the blame game.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the experience, like experience with COVID, some have, it's like bittersweet. Like it's a bittersweet situation. Like I tested positive, like, in the beginning of this month, my dad went for an emergency duty to Kolkata, and when he returned, like, I guess he was the reason we all got positive.
Okay.
So then what happened was we all were, little sick, like mild symptoms were there. Like last year, people were not showing that much of symptoms, like, but this year, due to multiple variants and mutations, I guess people were showing symptoms. Like I was showing
Yeah,
mild
it's
symptoms, like I was having fever, and I was like getting a little bit of coughing at the beginning. Like there were like 3 days straight when I slept for like 19 hours each day, and that was also because I was on a medication which made me dizzy.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so then I recovered really fast, and the worst thing was like I lost my ability to taste things. Like my taste was gone. I couldn't smell things, and there was this characteristic smell that was coming out of my body, even though I was showering daily, like maintaining all that hygiene. And when I asked the doctor, he said it is because of the medication that you're taking. So it sucks, like staying at home, like
It was pretty hard.
yeah,
Yeah, I
I
can
had a
understand.
lot, like I had a lot in my schedule, like completing the syllabus and stuff like that. That all went to wane, and I was like stuck at home, like not really sick,
Yeah,
but dizzy. Like I was feeling dizzy the whole day. So it sucks. It sucks being COVID positive, or being from suffering from any disease in general. But this disease was
obviously.
is not really fatal to an extent if you are immune, but it just makes you
But
lazy, and
recently,
this fatigue that occurs is really it's like
yeah, that
cruelty
is
to your
like,
body, if that's the correct figure to be used. Yeah.
yeah, I think cruelty to your body pretty much sums up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would quickly like to jump on to Ridhi, and I would like to ask her about how this sudden increase in cases occurred, and all this chaos that happened. Like we saw our medical infrastructure going down, like so quickly, like breaking. We saw people gasping for breath, like we had never seen. We only saw these things like in movies and science fictional movies. And what happened was, like, we saw this last year in Germany and in UK, people dying, and trucks taking dead bodies to the crematorium and those cemeteries. But this year it happened to us, and this was really pathetic on part of both, like, civilians and on part of government. They are equally blamed, I guess. From your words, I can make out that government was more responsible for this, and I truly agree to this, because elections were a key factor that played in the irresponsible nature of the government towards it. But do you think what are your thoughts on this, right? I would like to ask.
Well, as I've said before, like people were like so if we compare to our society this year to last year, you'd see that people are coming out of their house like nothing has happened. No pandemic, there's nothing. They're not even wearing masks. And I think it started around the December, January, when if you see the rate chart, the COVID-19 cases, the the line started to go down, and it was really
Okay. So as I said before, like people, this everyone is thinking that they are immune, and there is this sort of mentality that has come. I think it was around in December or January, when the rate chart, if you like compare the COVID-19 cases, the the line started to go really down, and it was really very you know um, it was a relief to find that slowly India will slowly start to recover. And I think it was at this point where people started to like organize small gatherings. They felt that it's okay now, it's okay, we can meet people, we can go outside. And they started to go on vacations, go on foreign trips, or something like that.
Yeah, last year,
And I think that
like you're mentioning foreign trips. Like last year, what happened was after that Sushant Singh Rajput, death and all that, that backlash that followed against the Maharashtra government. What happened was many of the celebrities just eloped to other countries. Like almost all the A-listers just eloped to other
yes,
countries.
that was another fun part
Yeah.
of it, that because of that news, so many people, actors and celebrities, they started eloping to other countries, and like there was such a big chaos about it. It was made a very big deal. And the medias, I would say that medias, they started to cover more of those news rather than the news on the cases, or for a change. I think it was good,
Like
because
it
if
was
I
more of a comic relief in a sense that it made
yeah,
us
yeah,
escape from the
exactly, it was more of a
reality or
comedy.
something.
Yeah. Huh. But it was good for a moment, like for 3 days or 4 days or even week. That was okay. The media, they were continuously covering news on Sushant Singh Rajput,
Yeah, like there was
and
nothing
I
else
think
going on in the country. Yeah.
somehow, yeah, exactly. And I think somehow, uh, in the meantime, like while that was going on, the news that was supposed to be shown to the viewers, like the cases, how it is again rising, and the shortage of oxygen, or all the medical supplies. I think they may be, yeah,
Cases started increasing in the months of like February or something, and the media was not even covering that. Like from the month of November, they were covering Suvendu Adhikari, uh, you know, moved to is thinking to move to the ruling party of the country, and like things like that were the main
yeah.
focus. Like they were like trying to escape from the reality or something, I don't know, but these things were happening, right? And these things kind of led to a really lethargic attitude to among the people in general. And not
Yes,
masking
yes,
up
yes.
was also part of this, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that pretty much sums up. And it was around the February or March that this officials, they've started to, like, take things casually. I mean, the people were getting, everyone actually, including myself, I would say, that I thought that things were up to get better or something like that, because obviously, because of the media coverage, they were not actually showing us the truth, what is really happening right now. And somehow we were left, um I don't know, we were left, less informative about the sudden rise in cases. And then the government allowed this Kumbh Mela, and then there was the nationwide elections and the rallies. So I think that they are responsible. The commissioner should be held responsible for that. But of course, it was the people who let this allowed. If they had opposed to Kumbh Mela visit or these rallies, a little more voice would have done. I think would have made a difference. But then again, we people, every one of us, were um, you know becoming casual about it. We were taking it lightly. We were just getting used to it. Actually, we were getting used to it. So it was just another normal day for us. So I think somehow that led to the second wave, and I'm not really sure or hopeful how the government or our countries will stop the third wave. Hopefully, let's just
Yeah.
pray. That's all.
Uh, okay. Yeah, that pretty much sums up it. Okay, I would like to ask Prerna about this. The reimposition of lockdowns that occurred in the last whole year, to be honest, and this led to a lot of like I can't remember exactly the name of that news agency, but they did a survey or something which found out that 13%, like our employment rate decreased from 6%, increased from 6% to 13%, like in just 1 month from April to May. Like, bringing back the country's economy on track and providing people with jobs is a difficult task, right, at this point of time. And this improving social conditions, like this, the quality of life has been really affected, except for, if you're crazy rich or earning, like, gaining billions and taking advantage of this lockdown. But not everyone is a billionaire, right? So what about the social and economic conditions that has been impacted, and how can we actually bring things back on track? Like, there was a lot of leniency in the handling of this whole pandemic from the government side, I agree. But bringing back people, people, they say, what they say is the present government is like a capitalist government, and what they want is just, gaining as much as capital as they can. But in reality, they are doing work on ground, like providing people with grains. What do you think of that, right? What are your opinions on that?
Yes, so about the lockdown thing, like our present government literally did a splendid job last year by imposing a nationwide lockdown. But the aftermath of the lockdown was that there were people who almost came below the poverty line in these few months of lockdown. There are unemployed migrant workers in our country, and they need money to survive. They work every day and they get back with food to their family. It's not that they have some money saved in their bank account or something. They need to work every day to get the money and all. And things are very different when we see it from our perspective. Like, they don't even have like enough money to have food every day. How can we even expect that they would be wearing masks, having using sanitizers and all that? For them, it's life. It's a fight for life. So either the way, if they don't work, they won't get food to have. Even like, we almost every one of us needs to agree that we have came across newses where the laborers were going back to their hometowns in like vast crowds, and they acted as super spreaders for this event. We saw images of like crowded buses and trains, like going back to their hometown. But the thing is that life on their part was very difficult in these few days. I had a talk with one of a person who works at a food stall below my house. So what he said was that if he does not work every day, he won't get to eat something. So he needs to work. And talking about economy and like it will get better soon, these might sound hopeful to us, but for them it's not that hopeful. It's
Yeah,
just
for
a
them,
luxury.
economy is a
Talking
fancy
about a
word,
better
right?
future, yes, like talking about a better future and upcoming extraordinary future is like just a fantasy to them. It's a fight for presence. And talking about what we could have done better is that at least for people who are migrant workers or they are unemployed presently, we could have arranged for food grains for them, and we should have taken note of whether they are going in a proper direction or not, whether they are distributed evenly or not. Like, there we have all come across cases of corruptions. Like the government might have allotted a particular sum of money to someone, but they receive maybe just few percentage of the actual amount.
Well,
So we
well,
could have done
I
much
I would
better in that
I would
side.
like to raise doubt over that or concern over that, because the in the present government they use DBT. DBT is direct benefit transfer. In direct benefit transfer, there is no chances of mediation or something that stops you from getting the exact amount of money. I guess. If that is happening, if the distribution of money is happening through cash, then there is a chance. But under DBT, there is no room for these kind of flaws. I don't
But like in
know.
some villages, there were cases where like certain amount of money was transferred to the head of the village to be
Okay, okay.
distributed among people who
Yeah, for
were,
cases, for
yeah.
those people who don't really have bank accounts, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because I like the maid at my house, she said that she was supposed to receive an certain amount, but she got lower than the half of the amount. So we could have done better in that side, and I don't think like there should have been a little more sensitivity to help those who need the help direly, at least now. So yes, that's what I wanted to say about this.
Yeah, okay. I would like to like Ruchi's opinion on this. Like, what happened in the past days is like won't be forgotten, right? It will be written in really bad words in history. So, what do you think of the whole this whole situation where people like died like flies and stuff? What do you think of that? And what could have been done better? Like Prerna said, like this DBT or distribution of money issue, right, in villages. But what are your thoughts on this whole sudden increase in cases and the backlash that the government faced, or not the government in general, but the whole situation in general?
Okay. Okay. So firstly, like the about the medical infrastructure, like I think it's on its knees right now, and definitely. I mean, I was on Twitter the whole time and I saw SOS messages coming every second. And I remember this journalist who was pleading for beds, and he died outside the hospital pleading for beds. And it really breaks my heart to say this, but we can't really do anything about it. I mean, I think Delhi was the most affected area, and plus about the reimposition of lockdowns. And I guess it was a good thing to do in the first wave, but just because we think that the economy won't be back on track, so we are not imposing a second nationwide lockdown, and we are leaving it on the states with not really clear, what do you call it, instructions from. I mean, I don't really think they need instructions, but then since they are not having proper, what do I call it, they are not taking proper steps. So I guess it would be good if the ruling
Yeah,
party or the
and
government, I'm sorry, that the government
whatever.
uh, you know
Yeah.
took the took the steps to, what do you call it, reimpose it. And then plus about the socio-economic conditions, I think like the news is viral that around 10 million girls in India could drop out. So yeah, I mean, we never really thought that we would face so much of like oxygen scarcity, and even like some drug scarcities and everything. But that did happen, and like totally unexpected, and like it wasn't really accepted by the people in the authorities that such a thing is happening. They were totally in the denial phase. They were like, no, there is nothing like that. But actually, there was like, I genuinely saw people who had to wait for around what, 2 days on a whole, like 48 hours for one cylinder of oxygen in Calcutta. So I guess that was pretty much, I don't know, what do I call it, violation of rights?
Yeah,
No,
there
I don't
there
think I
was
can
there
call
was a
it that.
time when like localities were testing positive, like whole locality. Like in my locality, like people were saying, "Oh no, मुझे तो मतलब viral fever है and nothing else." But the problem was that the government's approach towards this was right. Like in an article which I read like last year, it said like the government is unlocking the whole country because they want the herd immunity to spread over the whole population, so that people get immune to this by testing positive. But the second third variants all these things kind of made things worse, and vaccination or not vaccinating people. No, this was written by a medical expert, right? This happens like what this is what happened during the plague times of plague, 1920s and stuff. So this is what happened, like they gained immunity after getting exposed to the virus. So do you think that like reimposition of lockdowns is also a means to escape from the reality that our medical infrastructure is totally fucked up right now, and this is what they're, this is a different thought. Like, this is what I think. This is also like in other countries like USA, they are unlocking because they have vaccinated people, but we haven't. But I do believe that even if we don't vaccinate enough people, like 51 crore is the threshold for our country, 51 crore inoculations. So do you think like this is like escaping from the reality that our medical infrastructure is totally, fucked up would be the correct word for this, right? Do you think that?
Yeah, I think both of them could go line in line. Like, the medical infrastructure is is like literally, what do I call it?
Messed up.
Negative right now. Yeah, I messed up. It's totally messed up right now, and I guess imposition of lockdowns did help last year, but that's not really the case that's going to happen this year because several other factors are there, and but I do think that lockdowns definitely help in what curbing people, but then in Delhi, like 50% of the population was positive, and in West Bengal actually 50% of the people who tested positive, sorry, 50% of the people who tested were positive. So like anyway, these hospitals and like right to the hospitals and right to all these medical equipment centers, it goes on. So I guess imposition of lockdowns is only on those people who were going out unnecessarily and like partying in the real sense. And yeah, that's what I think, that these people who did not have the social awareness to like be at their homes at this point of time did need a lockdown, what do I call it, guideline from the government to
Yeah, there was
be at their place.
miscommunication between the ruling party or the central government in general.
Yeah, mismanagement.
Miscommunication, I
Definitely
guess,
mismanagement.
would be the better word here, because people were disconnected. Like from the months of November, there were no ads or no, like there was the caller tune, irritating caller tune, but there was not much of awareness campaigns or stuff like that happening on
Yeah,
television
and
or over the internet. Like we were celebrating,
yeah,
we had
and
started
even
celebrating in the month of March, like we have conquered this and stuff, but in reality what happened was, is history.
yeah, it's known. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
like
like to
what?
add one to what they said. So you were saying about this caller tune, na? But ironically, most of the caller tunes are like a lady is speaking and saying that we have vaccines, we have enough vaccines, get vaccinated and stuff, and stuff like that. And people, like I'm seeing this families who are desperate for vaccines, like they're registering themselves on COVID app or what is that
Like
Arupakit.
COVID is like,
On Telegrams, there are channels which provide you with
Yeah,
slots, right?
just
Information
searching
about
for
slot.
vaccination centers near them, near their locality or anywhere possible, actually. And they're not finding any slots. Like my family, my mother recently registered herself on what was that COVID app, and she's like searching for dates next week or next month, or like any possible dates that would like the slots will open,
And the
and
problem with the
we
slots is
can
that
like
the slots are made available at night, like at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Like most of the notifications I receive are at midnight, like post
see
midnight.
that's the thing. We are not aware of that. Imagine if we are like, we knew that is how the slots are working, we would stay awake the entire night just to register ourselves or just to book our slots. Imagine that. So this is like really it is funny how like the caller tunes are actually putting people in dilemma. I mean, they're calling someone and they're hearing this and in the first in the beginning this was actually acceptable. This was making people more aware. Now it's just annoying. Like, it's totally annoying. I'm calling someone and I hear this, I'll have to keep my phone at a distance just to skip that part.
Yeah.
So it's really so funny.
Okay. Yeah, about that caller tune. What happened in the months of like January, post 19th January, they started that vaccination, caller tune. But later, when cases started increasing in April, they switched back to the old caller tune, right? This shows to the, goes to show their hypocrisy or something like they could not really vaccinate people to an extent which it should have been like till now. And our vaccination drive was really, delayed in a sense that it really, made things worse. Yeah. So that's what I would like to put in.
So I,
Yeah, yeah.
And
I would like to add something about the medical infrastructure part. So, like, for days we would have been receiving like pictures and news headlines saying that 20 died in Jaipur Golden Hospital due to lack of oxygen, 12 died in Batra Hospital in New Delhi because of lack of oxygen. People in major cities like Kolkata and Delhi, like where all hospitals are full and they were being turned away, new patients were being turned away. We have all came across some disturbing pictures and videos where people are not getting oxygen or beds and crying for it. The economic survey of 2019-2020 says that the doctor population ratio should be 1 is to 1000, but in India it is 1 is to 1456, which is highly alarming.
oh,
Like we definitely have came across articles which says that people were dying due to lack of medical infrastructure rather than the virus. Like the sudden avalanche of cases had led to an acute shortage of oxygen,
We
meds and
were
beds.
producing enough oxygen, but the problem was that the supply of oxygen, right?
Exactly.
The supply was
Exactly.
broken. Like Indian Railways had to interfere in this. Like you can think of
Air
that.
Force
Yeah,
had to.
Air Force had to, interfere in this. So there was like, won't you call this an emergency or what? Army, the defense forces are
Definitely.
called when, there's martial law imposed in the whole country or
Yeah.
something. This was like an emergency situation, and I agree to that, right? What you said.
And even I think like last year, like when the lockdown was on, and even after the lockdown, like the prime minister used to hold all these monkey bath and all of these. Like it was pretty much often that he held these, like almost every week, and there were like challenges given to us in lockdowns to do this, to do that, and there was even awareness by him, spread by him, because people actually listened to him. They actually listen to him. It's a truth. It's a problem, but it's a
I
truth.
had
They
thought
actually
I
listen.
had thought to not make this political, but yeah, I think we should discuss about politics because yeah, the prime minister's image has got really hit by this whole second wave, right?
Yeah,
People
and
follow
like
him like
now,
till last year. People followed him blindly, like they banged thalis,
yeah,
outside and like we also I did that too. No, I did not bang thalis, but I played some tune on the speaker. But we followed him, right? But
yeah, and that
this year,
that thali thing was definitely yes. Go on, sorry.
yeah, what happened? Well, his image in general has got really hit by this, and this whole second wave, and people are just making fun of him. Like till last year, he was not really the butt of the joke, but now he is, right?
Yeah, and I mean, might have been that his focus is shifted, or maybe he's not that free right now to hold these monkey bats and all. But I mean, uh, yeah, and then there'll be this one group of people who will say that those thali banging was for the appreciation for the doctors. Yes, you go out every day and you make yourself vulnerable to the virus, and at home you sit and bang the thalis to appreciate the doctors. I mean, that doesn't really make sense to me. Come
No,
on,
I
make it make
mean
sense.
appreciation. Like the Air Force showered flowers on hospitals last year, right? Now
Yeah.
you might say that this is illogical, like wasting of flowers and making
No,
vicinity
no,
dirty.
I am
But
saying,
it's like this kind of increases the doctors' or the medical workers' morale. This is my thought. Like, your thoughts might be different,
yeah,
but
definitely.
this is what this is what happens in other countries. Like what happened in Italy. Like Italy was suffering. Like thousands of people were dying at a time. Like Italy experienced like 3,000 people. Like highest death toll in a day was 3,000 in Italy. So you can like in a small country like Italy, 3,000 like people dying is like equivalent to one person dying, 1 or 2% dying in every locality, not every locality, but every town out there. So they were also following this, like they were playing guitars and playing music to appreciate. Like this is our way of appreciating, like banging thalis. This is what I think.
Definitely it is. But if you really want to appreciate them, then just like at least adhere the protocols.
Yeah.
Like
Last year,
simple
people
protocols.
went on roads and started banging thalis. That was really incorrect.
Yeah,
That was not
and
rational in a way. It should be right. So
yeah,
See, that's the thing, no? Like, yeah, see, that's a as we're talking about banging the thalis, appreciating the doctors and nurses. See, if that was possible because in last year, where people were actually listening to the doctors and nurses, they were actually following the protocols. But like, if I say that, if the PM suddenly, in this lockdown, he asked the citizens again to perform this kind of appreciating
they won't be
stunts,
doing
or
that this
banging the
year.
thalis. No, I'm just hypothetically
Yeah.
saying that it was
No.
possible last year
I'm
because
saying
people
like
were actually
people won't be
listening.
doing that
Yeah.
because people.
Obviously, no. Instead, they will be completely abusing the PM verbally, and not just the people, but the doctors and nurses. They will do that. So that's the kind of like a picture. I don't know. I guess an ironical picture.
Now, talking about mismanagement, we saw, really huge shortage of oxygen, supply of oxygen rather. Oxygen, we produce enough oxygen because we are an industrial country, so we produce enough oxygen. And drugs too, like people, like till last year we were called the pharmacy of the world, but the reality was something else. Like the companies stopped producing life-saving drugs like remdesivir, and that led to a really huge shortage in the second wave, right? There were black marketing and there were hoarding of these drugs. I would like to ask Ruchi over this, right? What do you think of this whole oxygen shortage, and what could have been done better so as to ensure people get oxygen, like from next time if this ever happens?
yeah, yeah. So like both of us said earlier, like it was mismanagement and miscommunication. I think it would be better if I say both. Was there because like there were dire medicine and oxygen shortages in places, and there were actually people who were hoarding all the medicines, and like there were these young volunteers trying to do their best, to at least entangle, to solve the mismanagement thing, to they were actually calling up and verifying leads, and I guess I was one of them. So I actually had to call up around 60-70 contacts, and then I would get one drug flu, or this one drug remdesivir. Like that was a real condition. And even in like other places where we've seen that, what do I call it, people, like the prices, the inflation in
Yeah,
the what do
like
you
not just
uh,
remdesivir, but ambulances. Like ambulances were charging 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees in some cases for just
yeah,
traveling a kilometer. Like per kilometer,
and
1,000 rupees.
then even
Like,
it just does not make sense.
yeah, that's like the whole salary of a
And then
Ola cab driver, right? Yeah, they were earning that much money in just 1 kilometer, right? This is really,
yeah,
this temperament of our
and
country, like this, the people opportunist people, to be honest, if that's the correct figure to be used here. They find an opportunity in everything. Like this really makes me angry. And
they've made it a business. They've made it a
yeah, they made
business,
a business out
and
of pandemic.
people are actually calling it their season. Like it's their season to earn money. I mean, yeah, I mean it's their season to earn money with, and even with the prices of these medical equipments, like if you see, I have noticed that before, like last year around in July or June, the prices of oximeters in Calcutta were like what, around 1,000 or 800, 800 to 1,000. Okay, and now if you go to the local market, they're around like what, 3,000,
Yeah,
four
like
thousand.
politicians are selling it. Like in Delhi, I won't mention the party's name, but a politician was hoarding oximeters and selling it at like 8,000,
Yeah,
10,000.
yeah,
Like desperate people will buy
yeah.
it, right? People who are prosperous enough
Obviously,
will buy it,
obviously.
but this is really wrong. I mean, they should be booked for murder, right? This is also, against the concept
And
of right to life. Like you cannot just, sell these life-saving equipments or, for these inflated prices, like for your profit.
today you're hoarding all these medicines and everything. Tomorrow you'll hoard food grains and everything.
Yeah.
And that will concern people, but this does not concern people. I don't know how.
Okay. Yeah. The whole discussion is going really fruitful till now. I really love it. Now, I would really like to jump on to Ridhi for discussing the whole, whole political aspect to it, right? How the opposition in our country failed to play the role. Like they were tweeting like in 20,000 crore that they are spending on Central Vista. We can build these many aims or provide these crores of oxygen cylinders. Are you really serious about this? Do we really need that much of oxygen, or is it really possible to build such many aims, right, in our country? And even if we build that much of aims, we won't have that much of skilled doctors or professors to or academicians to run these institutions. And not only that, opposition failed in many ways. Like a really famous or beloved, I guess, dynast politician from Uttar Pradesh, what he did was he said, like, this is BJP ki vaccine, and I won't take this, right? That created a lot of vaccine hesitancy in the early days of this year, right? And that led to a lot of hesitancy and wastage of vaccine in the early days of this month, like this year, like when registrations were going on. In here, like in Kharagpur, where I live, hardly 10 people were enrolling for vaccination in the months of February and January, right? So this is really, irresponsible on their part to do such a kind of thing. What do you think of this, right? The role of opposition, what better, things they might have done to, counter the government or help the people, right, in general?
I will say the role of opposition parties were expected to, like, they were expected to act like a proper opposition parties where they will try to correct the government and play an important role in controlling this COVID-19. The thing is, what we have now is a is a national crisis. It's a national emergency, and in this situation, the government, the ruling parties, the opposition are expected to work together. I mean, that sounds quite utopia world, but the thing is, they are in this situation. The only possible way we can actually and try to uh, try to remove this crisis is to be is let is the ruling party and the opposition party should work together. But then again, personally, I'm not really comfortable in with talking politics, because I don't really follow them a lot. I try to steer clear of them. But if you ask me, like, how they would have, helped the government, helped the authorities, I would say that instead of, like, instead of actually blaming the ruling parties or going after them like dogs and cats, I would say that they could have helped or worked with them. They would have spread awareness to take this medicine, to take the vaccines, or the safety precautions, instead of actually blaming the ruling party or even trying to say that this is BJP ka vaccine or stuff like that. So
Like
the
this
thing
this
is,
this this
I
same thing happened in US. Like in the early days of vaccination, there were like anti-vaxxers movement, like an unofficial movement that was going on.
yes,
Yeah, that made a lot of hesitancy among the people. Like in US, what happened was like people were, not really aware in a sense that anti-vaxxing or anti-vaxxers movement started, right, in the whole country. And then what happened, like there was also vaccine hesitancy. But
and some of this, I'll say not just in US, but there were many even news that this anti-vaccine this protest, it happened in India as well, and some of these protests were powered by this opposition parties and the ruling parties as well, and this sort of created a sense of hesitation among the people, among their supporters, or the general citizens. So this became a sort of chaos. This actually like powered the chaos and led to many people not actually this registering themselves or opting for this vaccines, because most of the people are now thinking that these vaccines are useless. And this recently there was this Baba Ramdev. He produced this vaccine. I can't remember the
coronel,
name, but
Coronil,
yeah,
that
yeah,
wasn't a vaccine. That was some kind of an Ayurvedic
medicine,
syrup
yeah.
which was supposed to like
okay.
prevent
This
corona.
was this was
Yeah,
an Ayurvedic
he
syrup,
just
na?
cannot go
There
on
were
claiming
rumors
that
that this is
it
actually
it
a
can, yeah, it
vaccine.
can counter coronavirus. Like that's not, like even if we prove the bias from World Health Organization, but towards a certain country, but we cannot like blame this. There were like unworks who were like blaming World Health Organization for not acknowledging coronel as a drug for COVID-19. Well, that's really, Ayurvedic medicines work at a really slow pace. And even if they do, like they take like more than a month to actually
They
show,
do,
right?
they do work.
Like
And
even if
nowadays
they,
people are opting for
yeah,
Ayurvedic
in a
medicines
month,
more.
coronavirus
Actually, they are
will get
opting for
healed,
them.
right? And we cannot just go on proving that this happened because of the coronal medicine that I took, because it took like a month, and in a month coronavirus will naturally get cured, right? So Ayurvedic medicines, I don't think, I would like to ask all of you, like whoever wants to answer this, like what happened over this topic, like Indian Medical Association, filing a case of not bankruptcy, but defamation against Baba Ramdev. So, what do you think of that? Like, is IMA, being really cruel towards him, or is it really justified? What do you think of? And, anyone of you can
More
answer
than
this.
just, I think more should be done. Like it's justified, definitely more than justified, and I guess more of these proceedings should be taken against him because the amount of fake news that guy is spreading. I mean, I don't know how some kind of gomutra is going to do something in your body, and like everything is being explained on the television, and actually news channels don't have anything else right now, and they're covering him. And even his what do you call it, Patanjali, yeah, Ayush medicine Patanjali, like we were talking, the
No,
coronal
no, no.
came out, and
Ayush Ministry has nothing to do with this, right? They haven't
okay, so
certified that.
Patanjali took out.
Yeah, Patanjali alone just does
Patanjali,
that.
yeah, Patanjali alone. Okay, so Patanjali had this thing, and actually news channels were like, and at that point of time there was no vaccine available, and they were like,
Yeah,
this
taking
is
this
this is our, this is
as
our
a launch pad for their you know this medicine, like taking this as an
yeah,
opportunity to prove this as a really effective drug, even though it's not
yeah,
really. It might not be. It might work, but it
and
might work at
and as you said,
increasing the immunity, but it cannot counter that. That's like in
exactly.
layman's language. You cannot just use an Ayurvedic medicine to counter a virus, right? There's no evidence
Yeah,
over that.
and that too, like you said, like in a month the virus will go away itself, and you are wanting to cure the virus in a month. It will
Yeah.
go itself within 14, 15
Yeah.
days, and you don't need to
Yeah,
do a
I did
thing.
not go for, testing after 18 days. Like the new rule, what it says is you don't have to test negative, like go on to get yourself tested for negative, right? It it automatically becomes negative right after 14 days. So
Yeah.
that is something, that is another, stream of bullshit from these kind of companies, these kind of corporate companies, like
And they think this is
run by
marketing.
these babas. That I do support some of the, not his ideas, but the ideas the government possesses. But these kind of things and that Republic Bharat stuff, and I won't take the name of that
Hmm.
journalist, but
Yeah, you
I
have
don't
taken the
yeah,
name.
no, I won't take his name, the journalist. uh yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I don't support that. I am a firm believer of, not a firm believer, you might consider me as center right, but I do
Okay.
believe in some of the things. Like I don't agree with the, that
Totally.
Bajrang Dal sentiment and
Hmm.
Romeo Squad and stuff
Hmm.
like that. No, that is bullshit. That is so, like distracting of you. Like you want to distract people from real matters by doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is
Yeah.
really, not, and those lynching incidents, like we don't want to go into those aspects, but
Yeah,
I am
definitely. Let's not go
really,
into this.
offended by these things. Like you cannot just target one certain religion by, claiming as inferior and stuff like that, right? I think I'm drifting off from the real topic. Now I would like to ask you upon, this discussion over the floating corpses in the Ganga. Like we saw like hundreds of dead bodies buried or floating on Ganga, right near the bank of Ganga, and this made people like really lowered the morale of people. Like how this is how am I gonna die or something, like this is the worst way to die. Like people started saying this, but it turns out like in 2015 several articles, even including Scroll, which is, is always critical of the government, you know uh, they they also, featured this, incident like that happened in 2015. That always happens. Like if you have read that article, it says like more than 2 dozens of dead bodies are immersed in alone in Varanasi each day, like as part of the religious ritual. Like if a person gets bit by a snake or he has a skin disease, like there is a whole criteria for this, like in UP. uh, the opposition parties also tried to politicize this, like claiming this to be a mismanagement on the part of the government, the state government, to be precise. What do you think of that? Like any one of you can answer. Like I would like Prerna to, speak over this, because I think she would be more interested in this.
Yes, so like talking about the corpses floating on river Ganga, there was a huge cry over that issue. Like literally, I saw people putting up Twitter tweets about this. Like, is this what our fate is, and all that. But the thing is, like, this isn't something. This is what is happening just because of COVID. Earlier
This is like a
also,
prominent
this
ritual
happened.
in
Like,
that region, the especially
yes,
the, Purvanchal region of the UP, state of UP. So it is, I think they tried to politicize this. Okay, disposing of bodies into Ganga at this time of pandemic is dangerous in a way that it should be avoided, but this is a prominent ritual. Like nobody said, none of the news channels threw light on this, right? This is a prominent ritual, but they started speaking like this is really wrong or this shouldn't be happening and stuff like that, right? What do you think of that?
yes, like literally they politicized this
Yeah.
issue. Like, wasn't even supposed to be like this. The way they put up this
Like
incident,
several cartoons featuring our prime minister, like tearing up and filling Ganga with his tears and dead bodies floating over it. Like this is kind of, not really, what our Indian culture, or I won't say the Indian culture, but our ethics agree to, right. He is a guy who is holding a constitutional post, right? I know there was a lot of, mismanagement and a lot of compromise on his part over the country's, whole this scenario. But do you think was it justified to just target one person over this, right? Even though it is a prominent ritual.
Definitely, definitely not. But although there were almost 80 bodies, they were almost skeletons or half decomposed bodies, which surfaced in
Yeah,
the
I know.
waters of Uttar Pradesh. But
Like the code talks about dying with the right to die with dignity, and there was no dignity. I agree.
yes,
There was no
yes,
dignity. Like dogs were there, stray dogs were
definitely,
there, and like tearing up the skin from these dead bodies and
yes,
like consuming it. Like it was really horrible to see. But it is a prominent practice there. Like nobody gives a shit about this. But the media, right?
exactly, exactly.
And
Like
already the emotional baggage of people not being able to do the last rites of their loved ones, and then these news and all
Yeah,
come
yeah.
up.
There
So
was,
it's really like
again, like people who
heartbreaking.
could not, like, there was a time when relatives were not allowed to, perform the
Yeah,
last rites. Now, this might create a little bit of doubt among the relatives, right? If my loved one has given the same, I must say, the same respect while, during his antim sanskar, right? This also creates a hesitancy among people, like will they really dispose or perform the last rites on the dead body of my loved one,
yeah,
right?
like yeah, like they should be performed. Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but this whole incident, like floating corpses, this led to a lot of hesitancy among people, like am I also gonna die like this? Like are they really disposing dead bodies into the Ganga, the government, right? It was like that. So I don't think that's really rational in on part of the opposition without doing enough research to back their points.
exactly. Even I heard of newses where people came up with logics which says that the corpses which were floating in Ganges were the bodies of poor peoples who
Yeah, yeah,
cannot
yeah, yeah,
afford to buy enough firewood or cremate their
yeah,
loved ones and all that.
yeah. That was really
There
disgusting
were,
to
yeah,
watch,
there
right?
were also reports. Yeah, exactly, and there were even reports that the dead bodies were actually buried on the shallow grounds, and because of the floods, they are being washed into the river. So there is this another excuse, but I guess that has been happening for years. Yeah, uh, because they're coming out. Yeah, exactly. Because they're coming out, the medias are now highlighting them. People are getting to know about this kind of things. But if this has been in India for years, there's this tradition. You guys were talking about it. There's this tradition that actually the pure there's this concept in Hindu tradition that the pure bodies that are will get to be burned and the impure bodies will not be. The priest who conducts this cremation, he gets to decide which are the pure bodies and which are the
Yeah,
impure
like
bodies.
if
And
that's a
the impure
child,
bodies, they do not let them.
if that's a child, then he or she should be buried. Like this is the criteria for that.
Yes, and the family,
Yes,
they have to like bury them or burn them. They have to do something, nah. They cannot keep the bodies. So what they do is they would either burn them. Sorry, not burn them. They would either bury them in the ground, or they have to dump it in the water, in the river. So this has been in India for years and years, and because of this pandemic, because people have just
Yeah, the
witnessed
opposition took advantage of this, right?
the locality has witnessed. Yeah, exactly. And the localities, see, I'm going to say something. If this has gone on for years or years, the local authorities are aware of it. You cannot say that they are not completely aware of it. Like, come on, you are seeing these things happening. Some of them, even one of the people would report it, right? Obviously, not all are dumb, or this. Not all are like
People are like
strong
vultures.
followers
Like
of
there
their
are some people
religion
who
that
are
they
like
not
vultures who
report
want to
it.
take advantage of these things, and they would definitely report this, right?
definitely.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly,
But
exactly.
nothing of
But
that sort
in
happened.
Hindu tradition,
Yeah.
there are some specific cases in which they are not cremated, and if they are not even buried, then they are generally left over in rivers like Ganga, because that is what is considered to be pure in Hindu mythology. Like in cases of
Yes,
infectious
this
diseases, if
smoke.
someone
Oh,
dies
yeah.
of infectious diseases, they are like generally they are kept on to be floating in rivers. Even like people
Like
who had a snake
there's a
bite or
cult.
something
Yeah,
like
there's
this.
also a cult called Kabir Samaj, where people also, they also kind of, I'm not really sure, but I think that they dispose their dead bodies to Ganga or any other river. Like in Afghanistan, like people, they what they do is they bury the dead bodies into the sea, right, with a stone, tied with the dead bodies. Like these are rituals, right? You cannot just take advantage of these things for your own political benefit.
Definitely. Like these were not just in the times of COVID. Like this was just used. I am like this definitely my own view. This was used to trigger people's emotion.
Yeah, definitely. So now I would like to jump on to the next section of discussion where we'll discuss about the elections. This heated topic of this elections and all that religious gatherings that occurred, right? So not we won't target any specific religion here, but we'll discuss the whole gatherings, all religious gatherings in general, right? So let's discuss that. I would like Prerna's thought over this.
Okay, so I'll start off with elections and I'll go up to the Kumbh Mela. So, starting off with the elections, like in the late February, election authorities announced key votes in 5 states, encompassing 186 million people, including the state of West Bengal, where elections were held in 8 different phases. Politicians proudly organized rallies, campaigned across the states with little, or to be honest, no physical distancing and not even wearing masks. Images of such large crowds, like
And politicians
hyping up the politician
politicians
who was
even
speaking.
glorified these gatherings, right?
Exactly, exactly. Like those pictures surfaced the internet, and like people were proud of it. Like so many people coming to the rally in these times of pandemic, when the government has issued guidelines of social distancing. I don't know how, but this was a matter of pride for them. And as an aftermath of such glorious election processes, West Bengal records highest single day spike of almost 2000 COVID-19 cases a day, 75 times spike in daily cases in Bengal after poll results were
Yeah,
announced.
I guess you mean
Now,
20,000, right? 20,000 was the highest.
oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
20,000.
sorry.
So, yeah,
And then, like coming to Kumbh
yeah.
Mela, Kumbh Mela is one of the most sacred pilgrimages, and like it's considered to be like very holy to bath in Ganga during that period of time, and like it's the world's largest human gathering,
Yeah.
the Kumbh Mela,
And it was it
and
was
it
it
involves
was
a
also
vast.
bragged about, right, at that time.
Exactly, exactly. I heard some politicians say words like faith is more important than all these things. So,
The chief minister of that
quite
state, like
ironically.
chief minister of that state
Exactly,
also glorified
exactly.
this.
Yes. Huh. And then, like an estimated 3.1 million people gathered in the vast crowds only on April 12th. It was a 3 day long festival. So, 3.1 million people
No, it was
only
not
on
3 day long,
12th
but it
April.
was curtailed to 3 days. The major events were curtailed to 3 days after the
Yes,
backlash they faced.
and like out of a very few percentage of people who were tested among them, almost 1090 people tested positive on April 13th. And within days, the cases in Uttarakhand had jumped up to skies. But the real impact was that when these people took back the virus with them to their hometowns, the cases of almost all the states of India surged at one
Yeah,
point or
the whole
another.
Hindi belt, what we call as like Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, there
Yes,
was a
yes,
lot of spike, in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh,
yes.
these states, Bihar, right?
Like when even when like countries like India is facing a scarce of medicine production and all that, things like this could have been easily avoided. Like this is not a need of the hour, like not even a luxury. How can someone imagine of like contesting such big election rallies in times like this when people are
Yeah,
dying.
and the problem was like even if one leader took the initiative of not holding rallies and claiming that saying that it might spread COVID-19, but there is a
Exactly.
high chance that the other leaders won't really stop it, right? And they
Like the
might get
role of
defeated
opposition is
in this.
highly questionable in this part. Like uh, people, like if one leader is contesting a rally of suppose x number of people, the other party is like eager to outcompass the number of peoples, like just to show their dominance over that area maybe. But the thing is, the value of one's life is definitely more important than all this. Like the election could have been postponed, or like the rallies and all the campaignings could have been done in some other way, maybe online. If education can go online, then campaigning can also go online.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no,
I
but
think
the
that this
problem
could
is
have been
that
better managed.
these politicians are habituated to organizing lakhs of people like at a place and just screaming Jai Shri Ram or maybe Allahu Akbar or something like that.
Yes, like
Yeah,
it was like a festival. Like in my locality, one of the person who stood up for election was one popular actress. So like literally people came to see her, and like there was sound almost continuously for 3 days at my place with like huge sound boxes and people dancing and like
like here in Kharagpur,
yes,
what
it was a festival
Yeah,
for
like
them.
here in Kharagpur, what happened was the Prime Minister held a rally, a really huge rally. I mean, lakhs
Yes.
of people, like around, they
Yes.
were saying like around 5 to 7 lakh people came to that rally. And these people like show the unemployment,
Are you talking about the brigade rally?
yeah, sorry.
Are you talking about the brigade
No,
rally?
not the brigade rally here in Kharagpur. There was a rally organized. That ground is really huge, like very big. Like what they do is the local people don't really give much heed to these gatherings, right? What they do is they organize. They just use buses to bring people from villages and pay them, feed them, right? And they are pretty.
Like literally what I got to know was from one of my friends who stays like near that area. He said that they are given packs of biryani to attend such meetings, and like it was really his WhatsApp status saying that if you want to have a pack of
Yeah,
biryani,
yeah.
then do join
Yeah.
us at.
Yeah, I also had, the local, politicians here in my locality also gave us a VIP ticket. Like, if you just show that ticket to the rally, you would get the front seat, like front row of the rally. I was scared, like, how can you even do that, right?
Exactly.
This is really unethical on their part, right? Pandemic was not over, and we like declared like we had conquered pandemic by doing these things.
Exactly. Like people are lulled to believe that the worst is already
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
And like nothing worse than this can
And
happen.
worse was over. Worse was really over, right? 9,000. Like there were cases dipped by
We
9,000 in the
almost
month of
won the
December.
battle.
Yeah. In December, the cases dipped to like a low of 9,000. 9,000 is like a small state, like right now, a small state like, for example, Haryana, files these many cases at this point of time. And that was a time when the whole country was like testing positive, like around 9,000 people. So that was, we had everything under control, but this whole elections and these religious gatherings, like one religious gathering happened in Kerala, like Kerala, what we consider as the most, literate and the most ethical state. There, more than 2,500 fathers of the churches, right, from around the Kerala and Karnataka gathered in a religious function. Like now you would say like 2,500 is nothing, but they might become super spreaders. Like they meet hundreds of people, right, at their church, right? This is what happened in South Korea. In South Korea, there was like a father from a church. He alone spread the virus to like 3,000 people by meeting 3,000 people. Like religious gatherings are what brings us to the primitive style of living. Like people are losing jobs again, right? And this is really irresponsible on part of that. Like I would write like Ruchi's opinion on this, right? Then we'll discuss the Madras High Court's decision on this, judgment on this. Okay, Ruchi.
Yeah, so like aforesaid, I mean, it was actually celebrated, and all of these rallies and
Like
elections,
glorification of
election campaigns.
these rallies happened, right?
Yeah, even Vardhan, I guess Vardhan tweeted some pictures, and obviously, like the Prime Minister did tweet, and his brigade rally was compared to Indira Gandhi's, what do I call it? Yeah, even she did a rally, and it did not get as many people as Prime Minister got for the brigade rally. So that was trending actually. That we got so many
Like here in
people.
Kharagpur, like around I alone saw like 100 or 200 buses filled with people coming to attend the rally, right? Like it was like we
Yeah,
were
and
inviting
what
COVID to just spread.
definitely. And like Prerna said, even I've heard such stories which I don't trust stories that, biryani boxes are actually given out to people so that go to that area and just be there, just increase the crowd and you'll get biryani for free and COVID also, obviously. So, like about the religious gatherings, I mean, each and every logical person is going to agree that Kumbh Mela was not necessary. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it's a festival. You celebrate when you're in a good space. You celebrate when you are
Yeah, festivals are
totally in a
celebrated.
good.
They are not performed, right? And
Exactly,
celebrate. There's
exactly, and it was just
nothing like celebration of any sort going on, right?
definitely, definitely. And such a thing that they use their political power for religious sentiments. And then, even in West Bengal, like partial lockdown was announced 2 days after Eid. And I mean, yeah, the government got elected on like 2nd of May, but lockdown was announced since 16th. So yeah, that makes it. And then what else? I mean, they turned it, and they could have turned all these election campaigns and gatherings into a good thing. Like all of these people, they could have, instead of keeping it like in this way, like Prerna said, they could have done it online. Like education, it can go online, and I guess if it was online, people would have had more awareness that see the Prime Minister is doing it online, so we should also
and and and
consider,
and,
taking
and
it.
they weren't really talking about development. They were like targeting each other. And even if they were organizing these, it might have been justified if they were talking about, not justified, but it might have faced a little less backlash if they were talking about things of more, you know, like
Development, but
sound
no,
things,
they were
like,
just going on.
but they were talking about like blaming each other and like bringing back religious into politics.
Yeah, and how much confidence they have in getting 200 plus seats. I mean, yeah, and then Assam also got like, Assam had like so many cases registered after one rally. I don't remember the date and the name, but like there was this one rally in Assam, and after that there was so many cases in that area. It was actually a super spreader rally. Like I like to call it the super spreader rally because it actually did that. So yeah, and even other places like Kerala and I mean, I don't really have much information about Puducherry, but I guess West Bengal is like the biggest example. It got a prime minister. It got the prime minister, the home minister, the chief
Yeah,
ministers
like it
saying
was like a micro Delhi over here.
yeah, and even like people like this the former like the CM Didi they call it. They were just going back at her. I mean, they were just catcalling. They were just shaming her for this, for that, and even she was doing that. And all these became funny in political memes. Like I remember there was this meme where she was throwing the football and like I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. How is this funny to anybody that she is holding a massive rally just to shame some other man, and or he is holding a massive rally just to shame
Yeah,
her.
it was like a roast
You
going
know, but
on both the parts. Like they were roasting each other. Like it was more
political
like a
yeah,
roasting show going on, but in an open
definitely
space
agreed.
where like hundreds of thousands of people have gathered. Right.
Yeah, and even experts, some of these experts were also like, yeah, he said this in the rally, that was correct. And how can you say anything that was correct in the rally? First of all, the rally isn't correct. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to discuss now, Madras High Court's judgment over the role of Election Commission working as a super spreader. They called it, they said, like in a statement, they said that election commission should be booked for murder, right? And we saw a sudden, increase in the activism on part of the judiciary. What do you guys think of that? Like any one of you?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it, I definitely agree with the judgment, and I think it should have come like earlier. Like it came pretty late after everything was done. If it had been given earlier in the months, like I guess maybe it didn't happen that much. Yeah, that was correct. But if it happened earlier, then people would have like more awareness about it, that how they are like actually taking the for their political gain, they are actually murdering and ruining lives, ruining families. So
Yeah,
yeah,
like
and
last year, the judiciary was only focused on saving their own salary. Like there was this judgment that made it, compulsory for not compulsory but restricted any donations into the PM cares or any kind of disaster fund
yeah,
from judges, like from their judges part, right?
yeah,
What is this? Like,
and
why are you saving your own salary for this? Like, this is not a matter that concerns the whole country, right? But this year, they took a lot of, suo moto cognizance into,
even for the oxygen supply thing, they took the cognizance, and like they actually stepped in when center and the Delhi government were having some tiffs. They actually stepped in and did a real job there by solving the conflict and like giving this amount. Like they just actually told that this amount should be given and that amount was given. So I guess that was pretty much needed, and it happened. So that was good. But definitely, if we compare it from the last year, it's definitely increased the judicial activism. And sorry, the activism the activism has definitely increased, and I guess that's a good thing. But I mean, a person like me will always say it's not enough.
okay. Yeah. So let's ask Prerna about this. What do you think of Madras High Court or any other High Court in general? Any court in general.
Yes, so about the judgment from like Madras court, like which clearly states that what do I say? It was like the second wave, the surge in the cases. It was like the singularly responsible person for this was the election commission. I won't like solely deny of the fact that the election commission did something wrong on their part for which this case is searched, but like blaming them singularly for this isn't the right thing, what I believe. And it even said that they must be booked under murder charges. Now I'm not very sure about it, but what they did was wrong. But was it so wrong that they has to be booked under murder charges? I doubt.
Now, let's discuss the issue of Central Vista and the whole backlash that it received. I would like to ask Ruchi for this. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I guess I
I
have had a
I think
discussion
of
with you.
where are you going to the path you are going to take on this stand. But let's ask you anyway.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess, while, I mean, uh, wait, let me get this straight. The Central Vista project is going on right now. It is still on while we're speaking, and it is actually, they are actually, it at this point, I don't really think that that is so important. It is that important that we give our time and energy to such a thing while people are dying. Like it is very very convenient to say that it is going on side by side and nothing is being affected. Nothing on that part is being affected for the COVID cases and stuff. But actually, there are construction buses and people and workers are actually going on day and night. They are going to they are going to work every day, and then they are going back to their homes. So I don't really have information about that part, whether how many of them are affected by the virus. But I know that they are working like, and it's actually there. I would say that there is a political drift here. There is a political drift, definitely. Otherwise, how is it possible that, yeah, come
Yeah.
on, what were you saying?
No, what I want to say is, like the opposition also, failed their role, performing in their role. Like what they said was their points were like, I felt baseless. Like what they said was like, Lutyens Delhi has a really glorious colonial history and we should preserve that. That is bullshit. Nobody appreciates colonial history. Can
Yeah,
Americans appreciate the period of segregation? No, they won't, right? Because black peoples were like made slaves, like they were treated so harshly. How can one appreciate that? That's the point. The points they made, I felt really, I laughed at their points, right?
and they definitely want to preserve that, save that. Okay, given you go and save that, but right now in Delhi, I guess only essential services are on, like and construction is prohibited over there. But for this,
No,
like
I mean
they got the
industries and construction, major constructions are still going on. Like they need
major
permission from the
construction.
DM, and
Yeah,
if the DM grants it, then
yeah, and they got the DM's permission and kept all these workers and their families at the utmost risk for such a project to go on. And I would say, like, yeah, obviously a 20,000 crore project. I mean, the amount at this point of time is obviously the concern, but there are also points in my head which say that if there is a money shortage, then like whereas the PM cares. Oh, sorry, that's not under RTI. So whereas the where is the other amounts donated by philanthropic institutions going? Like, so many people have donated so much. I don't think there's a money shortage over there. There is just like mismanagement and miscommunication, like like we said.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to ask Prerna over this, right? So what happened was like they were the opposition in general. Like they were not really, they did not really counter it the way they should be. Like they blamed the government
Exactly.
to, they blamed it to lack of funds, right? Like like
Yes.
they tried to proclaim country as a poor country and we lack funds and we cannot take care of our citizens. There is no shortage of funds, right? We can feed like for the next 3 years our
Exactly.
people, like whole population. But the problem is like they were blaming,
Is it really necessary?
yeah,
Like the
they should
central
have gone like
vista,
that.
is it like necessary like at this moment? Like I don't know. There's a like a thin line of difference between the two like ideologies I must be preferring. Like, is it an ill-timed vanity project or a much-needed makeover for our parliament? The revamping of the 3.2 kilometer long parliamentary Lutyens area, like I doubt is that like necessary. Like people came up with logics like the central government is going ahead.
They refer to
Exactly.
like bullshit points, like
Monetary
yeah, monetary
shortage, which
shortage and
wasn't
stuff.
even the case.
Yeah, we
Like
have gained this much might in the past years, where we can feed our people, right, for years literally. But that is
yes,
something they always do. Like in UP elections, they tried to defame PM, and in this process, what happened was people gave votes to PM, thinking like he was the victim of the opposition, right? So this might
yes,
happen
I
again,
get
right?
that.
If you want change, if you want the government to change, you have to give solid points, but they fail to do so, right?
Exactly. Like even in the Rajiv Suri versus Union of India case, there was a 2:1 majority where the judiciary gave a green signal to this project. Like A.M. Khanvilkar and Dinesh Maheshwari said that there are like no reasons to obstruct the construction work at Central Vista. But Justice Sanjeev Khanna agreed to majority of the point, but he highlighted the key issue of lack of public participation in the entire exercise, which we all need to agree. And like what I think is that like we have to judge whether it is a necessity or a luxury. Like when asked, our
Yeah,
ruling
there's a difference
government
between
said that
need
they
and
would be.
want, right?
Exactly. Like when they were asked about the healthcare of the people who would be working there, as like they were considered as essential workers. So about that, we were assured that they would be given separate space to work, like there would be COVID protocols followed and all that. But quite ironically, 3 days, like 3 people tested positive
Yeah, but the
exactly
problem is it is
yesterday.
an essential work, like not the whole Raisina Hills part, but there's a construction of underground metro going on in that area, and a public subway, like transit subway, where which will accommodate around 10,000 people at a time. So that is an essential. Like you can go on with that construction, but I don't think like constructing the MPs offices and stuff like that is necessary right now.
Yes, but like that's where the problem lies. Like the opposition could have easily raised such issues to counter this project and like at least halt it, if not stop it
This is what
completely,
makes people
halt it
angry,
in
right?
these.
They start to glorify the colonial history. That is not a really
Exactly.
great idea to do in our country, at least. Yeah. Okay, so I think this is it for this topic. We'll quickly jump on to humanitarian efforts by government and other, independent organizations and NGOs, which you people are also part of, right? And I would like to
Yes.
discuss. I would
Yes.
like to ask Ruchi over this. I would like to discuss the government's role in the the critical supply of food and other food grains to general people. Like they are feeding 81 crore people right now, and this is really crucial. And even then there are unaware people who haven't really had their ration cards made, so they are still not receiving right these benefits. What do you think of this whole approach of the government of feeding? Like they are known as capitalists, right? The whole government's ideology is proclaimed to be right
Yeah.
wing capitalist, but they are doing the
Yeah.
socialist work, right, by providing these things. What do you think of that?
Okay. Okay. So, firstly, like all of these ration card things and like everything which was said in the what do you call it? There was this. I'm forgetting the name, but I'm forgetting the date. But there was this. What do I call it? Wait. Okay. So there was this speech by the PM where he actually, told everything that this is happening. So much of amount is going into the people's bank accounts, and
Yeah,
so much of
like
the
a week
food is
ago or
being
something, they
distributed.
distributed 19,000 crore to farmers, right?
Yeah, yeah, and still, like there are people who are dying of hunger, and like there are
Because there is
people.
miscommunication. Like the state governments are also
Yeah, and then
responsible in a way. Like the PDS, like the
definitely,
PDS is comes under the state list, right? They are
definitely.
not really, these things are not really reaching these people, and this makes me really mad over this, because nutrition is something, like food is something should be a human right. Like food should be free, like
It
luxurious food,
definitely should be.
I'm
And
not saying like if you want
basic
lasagna, like
food. Yes,
you don't
yes.
want lasagna to be distributed to
Obviously,
normal people, right? Common people.
obviously, basic food needs like roti, sabzi, dal, or whatever, chawal. Basic food need is what is needed. Plus, I think more than we know about the hunger situation and how people in which areas are not getting food, the government, the authorities know better than us that which areas, like which people in which area actually want it. Like because they have a higher view at it, they have a higher
Yeah,
control at it.
what
So I
is,
guess
what happens is like I go to this particular restaurant, right? Always like in a month, like I go there for 7 to 8 times, and there I find these children outside who just wait for you to give them something, like even food or money. Like I was thinking about them, like restaurants are closed, and what is happening to them, right? These are homeless, these are like orphans on the streets, and they are not getting really the treatment they should be receiving, right? I saw a policeman coming out of that restaurant and not giving a heed to these children. Like this pisses me off a lot, right?
this is totally. I mean, uh, I don't know. I think I am that easily affected by all these, and people are not easily affected. I guess that is why it is this the way it is. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I find it really not correct on the part of people to just walk away and like. I mean, and even all these like NGOs which are taking little steps. I mean, in their possibilities, whatever is there in their possibility, they are doing it. And independent organizations too. And I guess so many organizations are going out about like different things.
Yeah,
Like some
speaking
are
of
doing it for
organizations,
free.
I would like to ask, like the difference between PM Cares Fund and like those Instagram funds, right? On Instagram, Give India funds and stuff like that, Help India Breathe. What do you think? Like people are more attracted towards those international funds, even though
Yeah, definitely.
there's no ombudsman to take care of like audit those funds. Like if the normal people are actually receiving those funds, like because those funds are going to like countries like America, Singapore, Hong Kong, and we
Mhm.
cannot really audit those funds. On the other hand, PM
That's
Cares
the
fund has
best. Yes.
faced a lot of backlash. Like it's a like
Okay.
the government is trying to accumulate funds for BJP in general. Like, is it really that? Do you think?
I mean, I guess they do it. People like normal people do it. They donate to all these things because they think it's more fancy and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it is like wow, I donated to an international. I did an international
yeah.
donation. They'll find
I
clout with it.
contributed to an international organization to help my own country. That is
Yes,
utter level of
definitely.
bullshit.
And quite ironically,
Quite funny over that, but I mean, but I definitely agree with you on that part, that international donations we don't really have the altern access to them, like what they are doing in India right now, to the people in need. But PM cares, I mean, when it was on, like when people were giving in like major donations over there was no point that about RTI. But after that, it was said that PM cares did not really come under RTI, and I was
No,
actually
it
shocked by
is a
it.
fund, like it's like a trust. Like trusts are not audited by the government. Even though the PM can be a part of that trust, he can be the trustee of that fund, but it's not necessarily necessary to be a part of RTI, under RTI, right? So
Okay, so but I guess
yeah, there
transparency at
is
this point of
like
time with what.
there are multiple procurements of oxygen plants and stuff. Like they're utilizing the fund in a huge way, right? It's not like they are using it for their own purposes.
Yeah, and but still, I guess I was having a like conversation with someone living in Delhi, and like they contributed a huge amount to some organization in Delhi, and like they were actually saying that it is so. It is so actually does feel better to contribute to an organization, an NGO, which you can see working, than to contribute to PM cares, or than to contribute to any government or donation trust or whatever. So it is because you can actually see, and I guess I promote all of these too because, and I support all of these too because I can see the work they are doing. At least I have the satisfaction that yes, my money has
The
gone to
same
this hand.
things. The same thing happens to cess. Like there was this Swachh Bharat cess, or before this NDA government, there was another cess called cleanliness cells or something like that. There were multiple cess like Swachh Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan cess. Like these cess are part of tax, right? The general tax we give, like the GST we give, or the service tax we give, right? In some like petrol commodities like petrol. So these cess are also like funds to accumulate for a certain purpose, but they are left, right? Like they are like not utilized. Like Swachh Bharat cess was not utilized till last year. So these things happen, right? But last year
Yeah,
we didn't feel the need to invest PM cares fund over things like procuring oxygen plants,
yeah,
because we did not need
yeah,
that.
and
But
cylinder,
this
yeah,
year
and
it was
generators.
utilized.
I mean, the number which was given by the authorities, that this amount of these many generators will be set up, and these many, what do I call it, suppliers will be there. That's not really happening, and I guess,
Like
and
we are in a way
when
like
I have a
becoming
conversation.
China. Like in China there are multiple facilities available. Like you would find CT scanners and all that medical equipments in like villages at hospitals too. But there is no skilled person to operate these things. Like the same thing happened in Madhya Pradesh, where like hundreds of ventilators got wasted, became
Yeah,
damaged because there was no
they
personnel
weren't in
to
use. Yeah.
operate these things, right?
Yes, 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 yes. That also, as I guess, counts under mismanagement.
Yeah, obviously, this is the mismanagement
Yeah.
on part of the state government. Like, you have received those ventilators, but you have to utilize them, right? I would like to ask Prerna about, your contribution and what you guys do in general in Rotaract Club of Joka. Is it Joka? Am I pronouncing it right?
Yes, it's Joka. So like we launched a project like almost a month ago named Yoga Kshima, which was for the welfare of the people. So like initially we began with providing meds to people who were not financially stable enough or could not manage the finances at this point of time, because there were many middle class families who could not afford the medical bills and all that. So we started off with medicines, but then we slowly got requests about food deliveries. Like there were cases where the whole family is affected, no one can cook, and they aren't like well enough to order food from Swiggy or Zomato.
Yeah.
So we started delivering foods,
Like
and
the
we have
problem with Swiggy
already
and Zomato is that they just put a surge charge whenever they're overwhelmed by orders.
yes,
So this really creates a lot of like, how can you pay 50 rupees extra for delivery of your food, right? When your food
exactly,
costs only around
exactly.
100 or 150.
But we were lucky enough to like get connected to people who were cooking food at their home and delivering them to the patients at very low
Yeah,
rates. So like we had a talk with them, we arranged for foods of almost 1200 people till date,
yeah,
and we have like paid almost 40% of the medical bill of a candidate who was admitted for COVID in an hospital. We started helping people with the sources like leads for oxygen and beds and all that, for injections, medicines. Like there was a huge scarce about like remdesivir not being found,
yeah,
injections not being found, and all
yeah.
that. So we tried giving leads, we called them up, like we worked almost 24 into 7 to call up sources to check whether oxygen is still available or not.
Yeah.
So yes, we tried to do our part.
Yeah.
We received donations for
Like
this.
I won't ask the exact amount, but do you receive donations from Kolkata itself or just around the whole country or something?
No, like as of now, we are receiving donations from our relatives and people who know about our
Yeah.
project. Like definitely no one from like Karnataka or Madhya Pradesh would know about our project and donate.
No, no.
But people
I'm
who are
I'm
seeing us
like
work,
Rotaract
like
Club is a centralized entity. No,
yes,
do they also
yes,
contribute to your branch or something?
there were collaborating
Yeah.
criterias. Various Rotaract clubs across like
Like
India
for
were free
example,
to
in
collaborate
Baliganj,
with us.
if there is a club in Baliganj, I don't know. Like in Baliganj, there are not many cases, but in Joka there is a lot of cases, and they have funds. Like in Baliganj, they have a lot of funds. So can they transfer to you or something like that?
Yes, they can collaborate. Like it would be a joint project then
Yeah,
for Joka as well as
yeah,
Paliganj. And about the injections which we were searching and all that, like you rightly mentioned that India was like called the pharmaceutical head of the entire world,
pharmacy of the world, huh? Yeah,
and like and it went to its knees when cases were surging up to souls. So I searched up the net like what was the reason of such backlash. So a data from the print of the pharmaceutical industries says that the prices of many active pharmaceutical ingredients, which includes doxycycline, enoxaparin, menaparin, which are needed, like they are the key ingredients for the production of COVID medicines. So their price has gone up to approx 20 to 300% between March to April. So for that reason, many vaccine
like
production companies and med production companies faced a
China and US. There was a time when they stopped, sending us the raw material,
yes,
like for vaccines too. Like US stopped sending the raw material for the vaccines, and that led to a lot of shortage in vaccines, and that
exactly.
is still the case right now, right? the government, although the government has assured like in the second week of June, the things will get better, but we still have at the worst, right? I guess. So I would like to ask you, how can like I volunteer for I or any other person like who doesn't really know about all this NGOs and stuff can volunteer for Rotaract Club?
Definitely, the more the merrier. We definitely need workers. But for that, you can either donate money for the cause, which we with full assurance that would be used for COVID patients who need it. Like we cannot help all those who call us, but we definitely try to help those who need. Like we have faced cases
Like
where people lied to
this
us
is a
about
bit off
their.
topic, but how do you assess like someone that family needs or that family doesn't really need assistance?
Yes, so primarily we ask for the certificates and all that, whether they are tested positive or not, and all that doctor's recommendation and all that. Then we ask about their economical conditions. There were cases where people lied to us, and we thought them to be true, but then
They were
we
taking
have
advantage,
become
kind
a
of.
little more
Yeah.
sensitive about these cases, and we try to assess as much as possible. We ask peoples from the neighborhood. We have talks with people who stay there to ask them whether this family is well off or not, whether they truly need our help or not, and then only we forward with helping them.
Okay. So how can a person like volunteer for
Volunteer.
this, right?
Yes, so if you all want to join Rotaract Club of Joka as a Rotaractor, then this is not the only project we do. There are n number of projects we do, consisting of four different parts. It's community based projects. One is like this. There's club services, and there is professional development, and there is international relationships. So across the span of four different areas, we conduct projects all along the year. So you can join us, you can mail us, you can uh, text us over Instagram or Facebook. We have our official IDs named with Rotaract Club of Joka, and then we would be most welcome to have you on board with us as a member and also as an active participant in this project of ours.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. Now, speaking of volunteership and, like micro and small enterprises, women play a really large role in these things, right? I'm not prejudicing something or, not saying like women are, like only women are dominating these sectors, but the reality is women are dominating these sectors and it is a really good thing, right? Like microeconomies, for example, manufacturing of masks or manufacturing of textiles, like these are dominated by women and women cooperative societies. What do you think, like these have been hit a lot, right, because of this pandemic and this whole situation, and also dropping school girls, cases of girls dropping out of colleges and schools also is a really prominent thing happening right now. I would like to ask Ridhi over this if she is here. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes. Well, while everyone is facing unprecedented challenges, and but most importantly, the women are bearing the brunt of the economic and social fallout of the COVID-19. So, women who are poor or who have just started
Disadvantaged.
their small
Yeah.
businesses, yeah, face an even higher risk of this COVID-19 transmission and fatalities, the loss of livelihood, and there were also reports of increased violence, domestic violence. Because of this, yes, because of this. And last year, the number of small businesses by the women increased drastically. There were small businesses that produced masks, and the women represented them. So, and globally, and if I speak about globally, then 70% of health workers and first responders are women, if I'm not incorrect. And and they are not at par with their male counterparts. And at around, I don't know, about 20 or 25%, the gender pay gap in the health sector is higher than the overall gender pay gap. So there is all these factors that are like affecting or impacting the woman. And for the last this they can then the pandemic, the lockdown, that the massive job losses, stringent economics, loss of livelihoods, all this have impacted a lot of women and the girls. They were forced to drop out of college due to, I don't know, there were so many factors. Like, first of all, the schools were stopped. There were the online classes, and then there are some sort of social factors that that force the women and girls to confined in their homes. So I think that all these factors have widened the poverty gender poverty gap. Uh, like and it meant that more women will be pushed into extreme poverty than men. So there is this so the resurgence, I believe the resurgence of this poverty as a result of the pandemic has revealed a sort of women's economic security, like how they are
Yeah,
typically
that's
earning
what I
and
was.
holding.
Yeah, that's what I talked about in the article that I wrote on Women's Day, International Women's Day, right? But a lunatic was, pretty much offended. So let's not talk about that. But yeah, that's independence comes with a price, right? If you cannot
Exactly.
earn something, like if you cannot be like, it applies to like guys too, right? In families, they like in modern families, not I'm not talking about the previous generations, but now it is really necessary for each and every person in the family to earn, like otherwise you'll be
Yes,
considered a
yes,
burden, right? And this applies to women too.
yes,
Fortunately, this
yes.
the things are changing right now, like I
Yes, and they were changing in a very
yeah,
positive and fast way. But because of this pandemic, everything is back to zero, like down to nothing at all. And the women who started their small businesses and they were trying to become independent, rather, this the village, especially in village or rural areas where women are suppressed and they are like confined in their homes. They were actually finally becoming independent, and because of this, they are like forced. They are helpless.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, they have become helpless, and they are forced to be confined in their home. And the number of domestic violence cases. I mean, if you compare last year data to this year's
Yeah,
data, you will see the number of domestic cases have
yeah, yeah.
increased. And
And so has the cases for divorce, right?
yes, surprisingly,
Yeah,
yes. And uh, and you cannot completely know which household is
under
like
crisis or under
yeah,
stress, strain.
exactly. You can't actually determine which household is having this. So it's basically like women are like completely in a worst case scenario. They are like um, confined, or they are back to what 2010. I mean, 2000 back in 2010, or back in the old
Yeah.
days. If you see, there was no question of small
Yeah,
businesses
the
led by women.
2010s,
There
the
was
decade of
nothing at all.
2010s brought a really, vast amount of, opportunities for women, because people got aware, like, yes, women need to be educated, women need to be aware of their rights. And this
Yes,
pandemic
yes.
actually, made things worse for women, especially.
It did in the worst case. And especially if you see the employers, there was this reduction in employees. There was this thing last year, the deduction of 30% of the salary and wages. So while they were doing this, I mean, this is and I know this because my mom works in a private
Yeah.
organization. So while they were like shading the, it's like shading. They were shading the
Yeah.
employees. Um, most of the employees that were put on this leave, like on pay
Yeah.
leave, they were women. Most of the cases. Thankfully, my mom wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
Thankfully, but she saw that most of the women were kept on pay leave,
Yeah.
and the male employers, they were kept. So, and there was this salary gap also. I mean, the male employer, there was the thing that the employers who are
Yeah, the
working
private sector
regularly now they
is
are
always,
getting
the worst affected in any kind of crisis, like worst affected sector, right? For example, government,
yeah,
like my mom is a central government employee for Indian Railways, and she did not, face such kind of any kind of, instability other than, the dearness allowance were taken off, of
mm,
all the employees, but nothing like of that sort happened. But in the private sector things get really fragile, like because we don't have the concept of work from home in our country still.
exactly. And I I believe that the worst hit of this pandemic, the hardest hit was the tourism industry, the travel industry, because the first thing the government did for the lockdown was to ban all the flights, to put the whole country under a strict lockdown, which forced all international flights, like no operation of international flights or even domestic flights. So this has affected the tourism industry largely, and because of that, businesses in this industries were hit the hardest. And I think even now the situation hasn't improved much. So uh, my mom has this. She said this last year that um, the travel industry is the first to go down, and the travel industry will be the last to go up.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
because
so this is
the elite
how,
part of the society was still traveling and is still traveling, but the general population, which was
yes,
saving money for a trip to Thailand, won't be able to go there because of this crisis, right?
exactly. So yes,
Yeah. So, no, I would like, you know,
but
Ruchi to, I would like to ask Ruchi over this, right? What are your thoughts on the, women being the most vulnerable
Yeah,
and most affected at this point of time?
definitely, definitely. I mean, as we see that domestic workers are hit, like our daily households hit so much by this. They can't really go about their daily life and independent work life, which they used to, and 80% of them are women. So I guess losing their income and then losing their jobs actually totally, then low income and then unpaid care and domestic work increasing obviously, and poor working conditions. And also I would like to add that lacking social protection, like about from everything, adds up to this. But then I also think that there have been some state government initiatives, like for domestic violence. Yeah, I think the in UP this Operation Durachari was launched, in which it was against women offenders, especially domestic violence, since the cases was so high. Last year it was launched, yeah. And then even in MP, like in Madhya Pradesh, there was this initiative taken by the government, yes, the Jeevan Shakti Yojana, which enabled women in urban areas to earn by making masks at
Yeah.
home. So I guess that was pretty thoughtful, I would say, on the government's part. And then even initiatives taken in Manipur, like the Khodol initiative, in which they ensured health, hygiene, food for daily wage workers, people with
Yeah.
HIV, adolescents, women, children, LGBTQ community. And even the initiatives with sanitary napkins and
Yeah.
all of these awareness about it is also, I guess, yeah, it is good. But obviously they are definitely affected more right now. And
Yeah.
even with the health workers, I mean, Ridhi Kamini quite, amazingly pointed out how badly they are affected with the jobs and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah. Yes, that's it.
I would like to add about the education, like
Yeah, yeah.
what the female girl childs are facing currently. A report says that almost 10 million girls are at a risk of like not getting further education, and I'll attach some data to like add on to my point.
Okay, go on.
There is definitely a growing like concern that COVID-19 might amplify the gaps, like the gender gaps in education. Like girls are definitely at more risk than boys of being discriminated against in terms of access to technology,
Yeah,
household chores, and this would definitely like lead to hazardous consequences. Like this might seem very simple at the initial phase, but this can lead to early marriages, poverty, early pregnancy, domestic violence, and
yeah,
whatnot. Before COVID 19, India had 30 million out of school children, out of which 40 were adolescent girls. Close to 10 million secondary school girls might drop out, and a large number of these can be from India only, like just India.
yeah,
And according to the World Bank data released in June 2020, India's female labor force participation rate fell to 20.3% in 2020. India also slipped 28 places in the 2021 Gender Gap Index to rank 140th out of 156 countries. And women are 7 times more likely to lose job during these nationwide
yeah,
lockdowns and conditional on losing work, 11 times
yeah.
more
Because
not to return to work
yeah,
compared to men.
the problem is women. The house. There's this. I must say prominent practice among families where women are, if even if they're allowed, they're not really allowed to do like works that require hard work or more laborious work, like they're not allowed in mines, right? Women would not be allowed in mines, and I'm not just prejudicing these things, right? But these are reality. And even then, they're allowed to work at sites that do not require much physical, I must say, I might sound really offending right now, but this is the reality. The families do not really care about women, do not allow women, to be honest, to work at works that require really laborious. Yeah, so that has even now that the works like textiles and micro enterprises have been shut down because of overproduction or maybe lack of finding customers. This whole idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat seems hollow without women, right? Women's participation is necessary. And I would like to ask, Prerna over this, like what steps could be taken to ensure that women are not really, left out in this whole race?
Okay, so on that, I would like to say that there were some projects launched by some state governments which were empowering women to like work from their house, and like production of masks and all that, like handmade masks out of cloths. For that, center and state jointly worked for such projects. But the thing is that the issue of the chances of women getting fired off from work during this pandemic being more than men is what matters, or like is a matter of concern. Like it shouldn't have been a woman in general, it should have been the person who is like less talented or maybe less efficient to be fired first, but it's not the case generally. So what I feel is that it's now the debate will go on to gender discrimination, I believe, because like the root cause lies
Yeah, yeah,
there
root cause lies
among
there.
gender
and
discrimination.
and women, the fact that
But like
women were not allowed in laborious work, right? There are very few loco pilots in railways, right? If you look at the data, like there are like peanuts, like. And if you look at other sectors also, the women participation is very less, like very less compared to other countries. Like in US university, the figure of the female enrollments in universities is like 53%. Like less male students are there in US alone as compared to male students. But here, like, I'm not considering law as a, if we consider engineering, like they're the, especially IITs, there the condition is really worse. Like here in IIT Kharagpur, there is a ratio of 1:9. Like for one woman, there are 9 male students, right?
And like what the reason which comes up from the female sides is that they have a responsibility of household care. They are generally termed as household care providers.
Yeah, I mean they're treated as machines, to be honest, that
Exactly.
that manufactures humans, and they are treated as such.
There's definitely an absence of segmented approach to this issue. Like there are various categories under self-employed and wage-employed women, but definitely they are not looked upon at
Yeah, those
as they
things
should
remain in
have been.
paper, and those are like the
Exactly.
real ground reality is pretty different, and that concerns me a lot. I mean, where are we heading, right? Without women participation, without female participation, we cannot just go on. Like in the ministry, like the central government, there are very few women ministers, right? How can you go on like this? Like in other countries, there is a lot of female participation. For example, Priti Patel is a really huge example. Like she is the home minister. Like they're not called home minister, but something else, I guess, of UK. Priti Patel, right? She is such a huge personality, right? But here, if there is no political participation, how can you think of bringing about change in the status of women? That's a pretty different discussion here, but it relates to the present condition of female representation. Now I would like to jump on to vaccines. Like these are like last 2 to 3 topics I'm gonna speak of. It's already like 2 hours, more than 2 hours. Okay, let's talk about vaccine. Like when COVID registrations were open for 18 plus, the website literally crashed at midnight. Right.
Like literally, I had to wait for 3-4
Yeah,
days to
yeah,
get an OTP.
yeah. These are one of the things. Like in results, like CBSE, ICSE results. These things happen, right? And this really pisses off. Like this really goes on to deteriorate the image of the central government, right? So these things need to be worked. What are your comments upon the present vaccination drive that is going on?
I think, may I
Yeah,
speak
yeah, sure.
first? Yeah, I think, we are discussing over here how the COVID portal is not working, but there are like people less privileged than us who don't even have
Yeah, they
access
would
to the
never.
COVID portal.
I'm pretty much sure that they would never receive a vaccine, right?
Exactly. And I mean, this is so, I would say, privileged in the sense that, people who have access to internet, people who have access to,
No,
all
no.
these
Even though
technological
they have access to internet, they don't really know how to open Govan, right? They will
open
know
it.
how to
Yes.
use
Yeah.
TikTok, but this is also a fault on their side, I guess, because they know how to play videos on TikTok or watch videos on YouTube, but they don't really know how to register for Govan. Okay, now that yeah, go on.
I mean, there are others also. I mean, even the part where the senior citizens are unable to do it, like because obviously you can't expect them to be like this tech savvy to go on their way and register for COVID. And like I apparently did register for a few people, and it wasn't really a good time
Like
explaining
for me,
them
like
over a
what I did
call.
was, like, I had to register for my maid. Like I did the registration for my mom and dad and me, and then at the end I had to register for my maid because she did not know how to operate Coven. So yeah, that happens, right? This is one such thing that people who are aware about internet can do. Like they can register others who are not aware in their own.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to know this when actually I was explaining someone over a call that you have to go to this step, then this step, then that step. It was so like I felt like frustrating
Yeah, yeah.
that, but that is also
You know,
wrong on my
the
part
whole
that I felt
registration process is
frustrated.
very simple, but the problem is people don't even know that because
It is simple for us.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
simple for us.
yeah. The problem is they are not really digitally literate in a sense that they should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I would like to discuss the issue of shortage of vaccines, right? Did the news that came that India donated these many, vaccines? Did this really piss you off, or was it really? Do you think that that was a diplomatic move? What do you think?
Yes, so like when the news of India being not being able to give vaccine to its own citizen, but yet exporting to other countries, and slogans like weird slogans coming up from the opposition, that was really unethical, and I don't know, but I felt that wasn't even necessary. Like for years, India has made and exported more vaccines than any other
Yeah,
country.
India manufactures
Yet
8.1 billion doses of vaccines each year. Different vaccines,
exactly.
matlab,
Like,
all types of vaccines. Yeah.
huh. But like, still, and our vaccination drive began early in the January. But now it's like stumbling and faltering like anything. And the most obvious reasons, like which come up to our mind or like any other people, if we ask them this, is that India's population is huge, scattered, and the process of vaccinating is time consuming. True enough, like it's time consuming, agreed, but the thing is that there are different other issues which include mode of vaccine delivery,
Yeah, yeah.
differential pricing,
Like we don't have
and the maze
we
of
don't have the
clashing act.
infrastructure to store vaccines like Pfizer, which require like
Exactly,
minus 70 degrees
exactly.
Celsius.
Negative,
Like
yes.
it could be done in tier 1 and tier 2 cities, but in tier 3 and villages you cannot really vaccinate people with Pfizer. Like this would be a dream for them to get vaccinated with Pfizer or Moderna.
And now there is some unclear messagings and patchy record keeping in the app. All these are happening, but there still remains a like root issue of shortage of vaccine. Like in the first week of May, if I'm not wrong, India opened up vaccine for all those who were over 18. But most of the states did not have enough stocks to offer shots.
Yeah, only six of them
And exactly.
for
And
18.
that was
And
also
Adar
like it was
Poonawala,
like a pilot project. Like only very few vaccination centers were open at that time.
yes.
Yeah.
And even the CEO of Serum
Like
Institute of India, Adar
he just
Poonawalla, he
eloped from
warned
the
us about
country.
the
He
crunch.
just eloped from the country. Yeah, like claiming like he was being attacked or something, and he was getting
Yes.
threats from parties.
Like a war of words over the government's vaccination strategy has also been ensued. Ruling lawmakers have been criticized for allowing millions of doses to be exported earlier in this year, even though the country stopped providing vaccines outside India after March. And as of 27th May 2021, 11.6% of India's total population has received their first dose, and just 3.1% of the total population are fully vaccinated.
Yeah, no, that is the case with all the countries around the world. Like in UK, only 50% of the population is completely vaccinated. Has received the first dose, and around 10 to 12% have received, the second dose. Like second dose is a formality to, ensure immunity. But yeah, it is important. But first, at least first dose should be given, to the mass of population, in my views. Yeah.
But
Actually,
also,
what they say is when the nurse or those who are providing, vaccinations. So they say that the first dose is necessary, but the second dose is like no, the first is absolute, but the second dose is necessary. So as to ensure that the
No,
medicine,
that depends upon different kinds of vaccines.
yeah,
Like for Covaxin, it is necessary for you to take the jab within 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, I guess.
yeah,
But for
yeah.
Covishield,
And
it
see, there is
it
this
ranges
thing that
between 12 weeks, right? 12 to 16 weeks.
yes, and if you see the people who are going for the first dose, they are like standing for 4 hours. They were one time this ABP News. They interviewed a person who stood from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. just to get the first dose. Just to get the first dose. So these are there is a long line, and there are so many people who are standing for hours and hours just to get first dose, and it's very
And
congested,
there is a lot
and
of
that is
disparity
also
between, the distribution. Like I was checking yesterday, like in Jharkhand, I was checking, there is this district called Jamtara. Now in Jamtara, there were vaccination centers where 300, 400 slots were available. Now, but here in West Bengal, you won't find a single slot in any of the centers, right? This is the disparity that
there
needs to
is
be,
no single slot.
yeah. There is no, I mean, even if the slots are available, they are just booked within seconds, like within minutes. Now, I guess we would move on to the last, or one of the last, parts, that is, productivity in the pandemic. Now, after talking about so much negativity and stuff like that, let's talk about something positive. Like, how did you guys spend, your whole lockdowns and all that, restrictions? How did you cope up with all that, and how did you cope up with the stress? Like, yeah, like last year we were all busy in, preparing for entrance exams and board exam. Like, in my case, only one paper was left, which we got, average marks for that, for the best three. But the problem was, like, last year we were all preparing for our careers. Like, we didn't know what or which career to choose, right? Like, what were your condition? Like, what were you guys thinking, or what were your, status last year? I would like Prerna to speak first.
Yes, so last year was all about learning new words such as the importance of mental health, productivity, procrastination, and all that. Like almost every day, if I opened up like my Instagram or my Twitter, I would come across hashtag which is mental health is important and all that stuff. So for me, my 2020 lockdown wasn't such stressful because like through that I was preparing for my entrances and I had one exam left. Like I got information that my exam would be not be happening just a day ahead. Like I had
Yeah,
exams on
yeah. Same was the
18th
case with
and
me.
I got a call from my friend that the exam wouldn't be held
I think
on 17th at
it was
11.
computer science. Yeah, computer science. It was a paper for computer science, and I got to know
For
like two
me it
days.
was
Yeah,
Bengali.
2 days ago, 2 days, prior, I got to know that it was cancelled. It was postponed actually. So I was, we were all pissed off, right? We were preparing for a party that
Yes,
we were going to do before the entrance exams, and it was all, all those plans were fucked up, right?
exactly. Like from like the last day we met like with my friends of school, we planned that we would have a massive party and a reunion kind of thing after our boards are over, and now it's almost 2 years we are waiting for that one reunion to happen. But things were not so difficult for me. Like I have two siblings at my place, so like they do a good entertainment for me. Like it was fun. Like that I wasn't that stressful. I read books. I had a talk with my parents about my career. Like it helped me choose a right career path. And lockdown one wasn't that stressful for me. But the second time when there was restrictions, not lockdown, like in this year, things were a little difficult. Like when we started this project, we received enormous number of calls about people wanting help. We tried our best, but not in every case we were successful.
For me, it was
But
like
we
it was like a career roller coaster. Like I switched from
definitely.
I switched from first I got enrolled, like I gave JEE mains and I got a decent rank. Then I got into no, not that. Before that, I got into DU. Like in DU, I got into three colleges. Like I literally changed three colleges. Like first, I got a simple college outside any of the campuses. Like then I got into the South campus. Then I got into the North campus where I guess Khalsa College. Yeah, Khalsa. Then what happened was I got enrolled into an engineering university actually, Jamia Hamdard. If you have heard of that, I don't know. Computer science and engineering. Then I left that. I actually applied for law there also, based on my CLAT rank, and I got into law there. So I switched to law. Then actually I was hoping, my whole target was to get into law, and at the end I got. And then in December, this entrance exam happened, and we all got into, right, University of Calcutta.
Yes, like I thought it was only me who was switching colleges. Like when you hear your friends get into college, but you are not
Like,
getting because your
yeah,
entrance
I
has
switched
been
like 5
postponed.
colleges.
It was like
Yeah.
I'll tell you how many I switched. Initially, I took admission at St. Xavier's Ranchi, and then I took admission at Vivekananda College in Kolkata, and I thought that I would like prepare for NEET another year because I got a dental college from NEET, which I did not want it. So then again I took admission at NMIMS Mumbai for law, but then like my parents were like, at this situation, how will you go and cope up
Yeah.
there? Yes, yes, and this exam was continuously getting postponed, like with no date. So definitely there was a huge pressure on me to at least like get into a college so that I can tell my friends that I am in college. But then finally this exam happened and we all got into this
Like,
college.
my qualification at, Jamia Hamdard was really surprising for me, because I had lost hope. I was not really thinking of enrolling into an engineering college, but my CLAT went really horrible, and then I had to take engineering. So it was like a backup plan or something for me. What about others, like Ruchi?
Yeah. So, I mean, starting from 2020, 2019 was pretty stressful. Like, my class 12 was pretty stressful, and like, it was amazingly laborious. And then, so my exams got cancelled the day I had an exam. Like, I had to leave at 1 o'clock from my place, and like at 11 o'clock, we got the message that they are postponed. So it was that way. And after that, the first lockdown, it was very, very stress inducing, and like anxiety was at its peak. But then I think it was a rest given to like my body, I guess. Maybe, yeah, I would like to term it that way, that, there was the rest required to it. It was there, and like, 6 months or what, 4 months, yeah, 4 months. We were at home, and like amazing rest was given. I became extremely lazy because of that. And then after that, the college thingy, I guess all my friends got into colleges, and like I was waiting for this entrance, and like Prerna rightly pointed out, it was so, what do I call it?
Embarrassing. Like
Embarrassing,
when your
yeah.
friends
Correct.
like say that I am in this college, I am doing my assignments, I have an exam tomorrow, but you are
Exactly.
like, I'm not into even a college now.
And I can't even know the date. When is the, what do I call it? Exam. And every day my parents I used to say the same, give the same answer to my parents, that I don't know when it will happen. I don't know when it will happen. And after this exam in December, I had lost all hopes. Okay. And I was so like, pressurized maybe by the kind of environment I went and gave the exam in, that I thought that I will not get in. I had lost all my hopes. I was preparing for a like backdrop year, and I thought that no, nahi hoga. And I was like, first say I'll give CLAT, and again everything will take place. But luckily, I got into this with a good rank. So yeah, and after that, I guess I live in a joint family. So here around, we are like 25 to 30 of us, and it's like pretty much of fun to be with them. But also, thankfully, lockdown was very, very fun for me. We did pretty new things. It was pretty productive too. We painted together. We like played together, definitely, all these indoor games and stuff. And like I got to know so many things about me which I did not know. And then I learned so much. Yeah, definitely self exploration, self-awareness. And then I learned so much. And then there were times when I was so like stressed and like fully anxious that what is going to happen next. I don't know what is going to happen. But then there is this calm over here that with my family I used to feel that yeah, it'll be good, it'll be better, at least it'll be better with them. And luckily, I guess, obviously there is also the emotionally taxing, restrictions put on us. And I guess that's, I mean, I've made peace with
Did you
absolute
guys get
control
a
right now.
farewell
And
from your school?
yeah,
Luckily,
actually,
Yeah,
yes.
I was
Right.
also lucky enough to get that.
Luckily, I mean,
Like
just okay.
more,
I'm
many, there
so
were many
thankful that
schools,
I was
yeah,
a
which did not. Yeah, go on.
yeah, we had our farewell in February. So
Yes,
like
we
that was
had our
done.
farewell after our pre-boards, like in the first
Yeah.
week of Feb, and we were supposedly the last batch to have it as of now.
Same. Yeah. And like this year it's been like college has taken up some of my time, and then from the past 1 month and more than 1 month I've been invested
And
in this
fortunately, we don't
project.
have that, comprehensive, that much of comprehensive syllabus, right? We are, it's not, yeah,
Yeah, it's not that too
yeah,
much.
it's not that
And we're not even given those many
effort
assignments as I feel.
intensive syllabus. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But definitely in lockdown, like we all have definitely invested time in our interests. Like
Yes.
people have
Yes.
taken up their interest. Like I have seen, like people of 40 plus age taking up their childhood interests during this time. Like my Facebook timeline was filled up with videos of people singing, dancing, reciting, or like doing
Yeah.
whatever
And
they
that is so
wished to.
fascinating. That is so
Exactly. I
fascinating to
felt so
see.
amazed by the energy I saw. Like one of my aunt, she used to dance when she was like in college, but
Yeah,
then she
younger.
could not. And now I saw her video like 2 weeks back. She was dancing so gracefully. I felt so much of life from that.
Yeah, and
Like
that is so
definitely, it's
inspiring
not just
too.
negative about it. There are some positive things about it too.
Yeah, but that only applies to prosperous families and the actually the middle class society. But for the lower middle class or the that part of society that is always deprived of these kind of stuff, like are not really you know not really don't have access to these things, right? They suffer the most, and that's a harsh reality. Now, I would like to ask Ridhi over this. How did you spend your last year, like career wise, health wise, and social wise, like socially?
yeah. So, frankly speaking, the first lockdown imposed on us last year, I feel sad or affected in any way. I had just completed my IAC board and I had maths as my last exam. So I was feeling pretty joyous and content that I will now have all this time to myself finally. So it kind of felt like a vacation to me, except all the plans that I made or my family made were halted. And we were just quarantined. It was just, and in my family, it was just me and my mom and my dad. So that was that. And but in the next few months, when things started to get out of control and the cases intensified rapidly, I started to feel awful. I developed anxiety issues, and well, I faced a lot of personal problems. So it was turning out to be a nightmare. But on the positive side, I had spent a lot of fun time with my parents, and because my friends were living far from me, so it was just me and my mom and my dad. So I had so many deep conversations with my parents than we had in years. I started to develop. I started to paint again. I started to work on my Wattpad story, and honestly, I got to know much about my mom. And surprisingly, she loves to watch web series. So we did a lot of things together. And honestly speaking, this one thing that I'm thankful for in the last 10 months, it would be the time I got to spend with my mom. She was very supportive, and of course, the dropouts, 1 whole year gone complete waste, and this college thing stuff. So she was very caring and supportive, and I think she is the only reason why I was able to survive all this. lockdowns. So yes, that's pretty much my experience. And funny. It's really funny that my productivity level last year is higher than what I had in my school days. So I did so many things in my lockdown that I have never done. Like I was so lazy in my school days. My productivity level was down to, I don't know, 15 or even 16. But my really happy that I started. Yeah, my mom was really happy that I started painting again. That's one thing that I love doing, and I started writing. I started, making videos for her. We started spending a lot of times. We watched web series, movies. It was she is the reason why I was able to survive the lockdown. So yeah, that's basically how my experience was.
For me, it was like, uh, I was like, there was a time during the lockdown last year when I was reading, like, I read like 14 novels. Like, I like for straight 2 months,
God,
I read
seriously.
14 novels.
Yes, that's the thing. I tried reading. I had a lot of books that I bought out of interest, and I had four books. One of them was The Treasure Island, and I started reading that. And halfway, I was so bored that I threw it away, and I just started watching web
Yeah.
series. So it was really
it
not
was
working
it
for
was
me.
it was really weird. Like, I learned to stay awake for like till 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning in the lockdown, due to lockdown, thanks to lockdown, because before that I did not really wake up till 2. More than 2 I was not really awake. But lockdown taught me this really bad habit of staying awake till late night. That is I must say, one negative thing that I learned.
I think I'd like to add the same, like same thing. It has taught me that. Otherwise,
I think this lockdown, while it has its negative impacts, I think on the positive side, it has made all of us a better version of ourselves. I think we would agree that we are a better
We got to explore
person than
ourselves,
we
right,
were in our
in this
school
time.
days.
Like, out.
Yeah, exactly. I think it has given us a lot of time to remake ourselves, to explore our interest. What are we? What are our personality?
yes,
What do we like? What do we?
and
What don't
especially
we
at
like? Yeah.
yeah, and especially at this age, like we're 18, 19, and it's so amazing that we got so much time for like the me time to explore at this age, to get to know ourselves at this age.
Exactly. We I think we are lucky enough to get this time, because for a lot of people, all these studies and careers, they somehow lose themselves, or their what their interest, what they're passionate about. And I think that um, last year and even this year, the time we got to ourselves to explore our interest, to do things that we always wanted to do and couldn't do because of our studies. So I think on the positive side, we would all agree that somehow it has brought out the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, indeed. Uh, so I guess I would like to wrap this up here by, thanking you, all of you guys. Like, it's been a pleasure doing this podcast with you. Like, I've been bugging you all like from days, and I got sick. That's why I couldn't do it early. But like, thank you so much for being here. And if you all like to, you know, spread a message from your side of positivity, then you can, like, any of you.
Yes, so thank you, Shay, for having me in your podcast. This was such a experience, and the way we got to talk everything like about this pandemic, this second wave. I think it was and I
Yeah, I
thank you
wanted a
for
really serious discussion because, uh, you know, this was a really huge issue that I really wanted to cover. Like, I skipped the upcoming episode, which I was going to cover, the Generation Z Bihari, like how the Generation Z Bihari has, transformed into a really different person, like broken the stereotypes, and we are, doing different things. Like, but I felt the need that I should do this before that. So I'm really grateful that you guys really joined, and it's been a pleasure. Like,
But really, it's been actually a pleasure to be here and have this discussion without the formalities. It was amazing to be here. It was amazing. Thank you. Yeah, totally. Thank you. I literally put my heart out here and spoke everything I wanted to. Thank you.
so yeah, I think that's it again. And Prerna, do you want to say anything? Like, give your Prerna advice.
Thank you, Shrey, for having
Like your
us
name
here.
Prerna means
I'm
to
glad.
inspire, I guess.
Yes,
Would you like
yes, it
to
means inspiration.
inspire someone, like the listeners?
Give inspiration, Prerna.
Okay,
That's the
okay.
clue.
Sharing inspirations. like, what I think is that there will be one day in near future when we can roam around without masks. We would not have to receive calls where people are hurdling for oxygen cylinders and beds. There would be a day, but for that day we have to mirror up ourselves. We need to rectify the mistakes we do, or else we would land up in the same situation in November. So, like, we need to reinculcate some values in us, wearing masks, maintaining COVID protocols, and the better future is waiting for us.
Yeah, it's not like it's just a pandemic. Yeah, none of the pandemics in the world
Yes,
have
and it
lasted for
will be
years.
over.
Like, more than
Yes,
a couple of
yes.
years or something.
Better days are
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you so much. And I would do the cliched line again here. Follow my podcast. Follow these people. I will drop the link of their Instagram if you guys give the consent only. And thank you so much for being here. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank
having
you.
us. Thank you.